best is perhaps a destination, but there are so many not best things that comprise the ingredients to get there, even to touch best briefly like a hot stove and then back off again. No one can start at best. You can only try your best to get better. I think that's a more realistic goal.
Astrid Jorgensen, the founder and conductor of Pub Choir, believes in incremental improvement. Each time she steps on stage to convince thousands of people that she can in fact teach them to sing in harmony in just 90 minutes, she remembers it won't be a perfect performance at the end of the night. They won't achieve true mastery with this song. But if Astrid and the thousands in the audience just persevere bit by bit, if they break it down and learn one line at a time, and then one verse and then another, they'll get there. If they just keep going, they will sing something. Not perfect, but something pretty darn great at the end of the night. Shortly on Curveball, Astrid Jorgensen from Pub Choir.
Complex problems need clever solutions.
The justice system in Australia is very much focused on the punitive approach. You do the crime, you do the time.
And how are our notions of connection being reshaped in unexpected ways?
Parasocial relationships can be a really healthy and beneficial and identity-building piece of the pie.
Meet the minds who make it happen on The Solutionists, a podcast from me, Mark Scott, and the University of Sydney.
In 2017, in a dimly lit pub in Brisbane, a pint-sized powerhouse named Astrid Jorgensen jumped onto a small stage. The crowd of about 50 people was ready, but they weren't here to see Astrid sing. They were here to be the singers. Lyric sheets were passed around on the way in. People were grabbing beers from the corner bar as they were nervously preparing to sing their hearts out. Astrid and her friend on guitar jumped up on stage, and Astrid split the group into three. And then, across the next 90 minutes, she taught a group of strangers with absolutely no choir experience to sing not only in unison, but in three-part harmony. This is Curveball, and today I'm taking you inside the group singing phenomenon that is Pub Choir, and how its leader taught the world to sing. Astrid, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. Although I must admit, I did have some music friends in the crowd that night. The first one was a cheat.
That's all right. I'm sure you managed to convince them all to sing. Can you teach a drunk room of adults to sing, though?
Well, I do it professionally, so I suppose yes. Although, you know, like the outcome, all of art is open to opinion and interpretation. I believe that anyone can sing. Everyone's got a different opinion on what constitutes good singing. As someone who has studied singing, like at university, and has had many voice lessons and things like that, I think it's very difficult to sing well, but it's so easy to sing it all. Like, I just think you open your face, you're doing it already. So yeah, you can absolutely teach a room full of drunk anybody's to sing. Singing well is the goal, though. And that's what I'm looking to do at Pub Choir, give people the experience of making something, not singing along, but becoming a singer just for, 90 minutes.
So you mentioned there that you were involved in music from quite a young age, but you did have a pretty awful music teacher as a kid. I think she preferred your brother, really. But what do you remember about music in your childhood?
I mean, I think, like everyone, music is just infused in my entire existence. I think that there is pretty much nowhere you can go now without music, like the movies, an elevator, the shops. So music is just integral at all times for all of us, I think. But an added layer to that was I had music lessons one-on-one as a child. I think even from age 2, I was even sitting in on my brother's piano lessons, but then tinkering around on instruments myself. So music making has always been a part of my life, but I didn't feel good about it. And also, This is a sort of strange thing that's taken me a while to grapple with and understand about myself. Music has always been easy for me, and so I thought that it was dumb. So it's like I was naturally talented as a musician, so I thought that it didn't mean anything because I didn't have to think about it. And, I was getting an A for music at school, and so I thought, well, what a silly subject. You don't even have to think at all. Now, as an adult person, I'm like, what a gift to be good at anything without having to be too stressed to begin. So it took me a while to even realize that not everyone can hear music in their head in a lot of detail. Not everyone can pick up a song at the piano. I mean, I'm not good at pretty much everything else, but I think, in fact, that's why I thought it might be silly that music was so easy. I'm like, oh, I can barely catch a ball. I can't do all these other things. Music must be really easy for everyone.
Music's a funny thing as you become a teenager as well, because it's almost like the nerdy kids do music in kind of lower high school, and then suddenly teens get into music, and then it kind of becomes cool if you know how to play guitar, etc. So how did it transition for you as a teenager?
I'm still looking for the cool arc in my music story.
I think there's a fair few people at pub choir who think you're pretty cool.
Yeah, but they're the nerds from school. No. Love you. No, look, I think, it's interesting. I think at school, and especially for teenagers, it's sort of a rite of passage to be unenthusiastic, at least outwardly. Like, it feels important to be aloof, or like you're not too obsessed with anything, like you're just playing cool all the time. So I think that really comes into it a little bit. It's like it's uncool to be too enthusiastic about anything when you're a teenager, but I think as you get older and as an adult navigating the world, you realize that people who are passionate about stuff are cool. Like, it's nothing to do with how you wear your hair or whatever. Like, it's actually how good you are at something when you're an adult that people are drawn to, how much you enjoy what you're doing, how much energy and enthusiasm you exude, how much expertise you have. Like, these become the characteristics that we kind of admire as adults. So I think that sort of switches the narrative for musicians. It's like, well, I have been practicing for 15 years and now I've become good at the guitar and everyone's clapping. Like, I think we sort of, as a society, I hope we appreciate the effort that goes in behind something.
We mentioned the narky music teacher, and a good teacher is worth their weight in gold. Like, I just think about my own kids, watching them go through high school when they have a teacher that just lights them up. Mm-hmm. It's amazing, the difference. So how did you move past, having a kind of a cranky old teacher and sticking with music regardless?
I mean, I didn't, through time, I didn't fully appreciate how much she had affected my relationship with music until it came good over a decade later. Teachers are so powerful. Having been one, having admired many, I think teaching is like the hardest, most important job there is in society. All of us can do everything we know because someone taught us how. We speak languages and we learn to walk because everyone's holding our hands and teaching us. Like, teaching is the foundation of all society and everything we do. Teaching is so important. So when you have a bad one, it really can have a powerful impact. So this person I used to see every week for years, I think 4 or so years, really destroyed my experience and love of music. So I didn't know what to do with that, so I just walked away from music. I sort of gave up on it. I didn't want to study it as I got into high school. I didn't join the choir or anything. I just thought that music was torture. So luckily for me, like, no one is more surprised than me that I have a full-time music job. It took me a really long time to find my way back to loving music again and that feeling right for me. And it's the most right thing for me. But I think that almost drives some of the success behind my work with pub choir, is that I do think I can genuinely empathise with anyone who comes into the room that feels not welcome in the house of music making. I know exactly where you're coming from. Obviously, we all come from a different direction, but I fully empathise with feeling not good enough about music. And so I like to kind of be the person that changes the narrative for someone, or just like sparks a little bit of desire to try again in someone.
Once you became a music teacher and you had that experience and the passion that you've got, did you love it?
I did not love teaching. I wasn't like a cruel teacher like the ones that I had, but I didn't feel right. Like, I am so musical and it's always been in there bubbling away. I was still looking for the right outlet. I don't have a good enough singing voice to be a professional, famous singer. I'm not good at any instrument to the level that I could be a soloist or in someone else's band. Like, I can write songs, but they're not hits. Like, I've got lots of musical things I've tried, but none of them, I just felt like I was okay, but it didn't feel like it was really lighting me up. And so teaching was another thing that I tried. I'm like, well, I love music and I love making it accessible, so maybe I should try and teach children. But again, that wasn't quite right for me because you have to give them a mark. And there is definitely a place for that. Teachers should be able to help children, compare where they're at and help each other move along together. But for me, I'm like, I don't want to give someone a C- just because, I don't know, they didn't sing some metric, I don't care. Care if a kid honks out of tune. I don't want to destroy some child's love of music. It felt really bad to me to coach them through these rubrics and these exams, and then for them to stand up in front of me and their voice shake, and then for me to say it's still not good enough. Like, I'm not going to make a child quit music. Yeah. So I just thought there has to be a more accessible way for me to share what I know about music.
And then your husband says, look, I really think air traffic control is the thing. Like, why don't you go and do that? You go through all of the hard work exams, which I think is quite a hard thing to do, very stressful, lots of pressure. You get all the way through, but then what happened?
Yeah, well, to be fair to him, I had been brainstorming many things. It wasn't the first thing. I was tried a lot of things.
Maybe help some planes land and have people's lives, depending on you.
He didn't see me walk through the room and he's like, you should be, it was like I tried selling towels and all sorts of things. But yeah, I was always just looking for the thing that felt right. Isn't that so millennial of me? I just want something to really fit me. How annoying. But I was looking, I don't know, I knew teaching wasn't for me. And so I thought, what else can I try? And yeah, he suggested it to me because it's a really fast response profession. He was like, you love doing two things at once and responding as quick as possible. So yeah, and I did get really excited by the whole air traffic control storyline. I thought that would be a really fun place to go. But in the same week that I was offered an interview for my final place in an air traffic control program, I was also offered a job taking a type of choir that I had never encountered before. I had never seen this at any school, anywhere. I was not aware of any program doing this. It was a compulsory whole school choir for a high school. So, I don't know. Yeah, you said you've got kids. It's really hard to make kids do anything compulsorily. And I'd never heard of a school forcing every single student to sing together. There's lots of singing along at schools, but never a full choir rehearsal that no one's allowed to opt out of.
Which is both really great and also kind of crazy.
High risk, high return, I think. Could really go either way. Someone sent me an email, the head of music at the school, and she said, we've sort of headhunted you. We've been looking to establish this choir. It's not really worked out in the past, but we're very keen to make it work. And someone suggested your name. And so, I'm the youngest of 5 children. No one's ever we specifically chose you.
Most of the time they forget your name. You're like, just number 5.
I know. So I was like, oh my God, someone wants me. So, validate, if you want to get me to do anything, just give me a compliment and I'll do it. So someone said, we think you're right for this. Would you be willing to try? And so I did. And this was such a terrible job. It was 1 hour a fortnight. And there was some prep time. It was $1, a week. And I was like, I'll do it. And I went along, and for the first time in my life, everything made sense at work. So I had, I was a trained teacher, so I wrote out a lesson plan, and I was a trained choral professional. That's what I studied at uni. So I knew how to take a choir rehearsal. I'd done plenty in the past. And so I had my plan. And I had been practicing what I would do in front of this insanely large 500-kid whole school choir. And I walked onto this stage at the assembly, and I didn't look at my plan at all, and I just already knew what to do. I'd never experienced anything like that. I've heard people describe it as a flow state, but just in that moment, I knew exactly what to say next, what to do, where to walk, how to move my hands, the little jokes to say. Like I had finally arrived at something that was right for me. All of these weird skills that I had been acquiring and gathering up as ingredients, finally here was the soup. Like, you know, and so in that moment I understood that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It's a non-competitive, large-scale music-making experience. No one's going to get a mark at the end of it. We're just going to try and have a nice time and then we'll all move on. Like a one-night stand sort of energy. And that felt exactly right for me. And so that made me cancel my interview for air traffic control, and a few months later pub choir had started.
And so then what's the transition to pub choir? Because there's lots of community choirs. You can sign up, you go, I like a bit of singing.
Hundreds, and I love them all.
Like, it's great, but I don't mind singing. I'm a tiny bit musical. I learned a little bit as a kid, but I'm not superstar or anything like that. But I just wouldn't sign up for a community choir. If someone said to me, do you want to sign up for a community choir? I'm like, yeah, and it's not really my bag. It sounds kind of daggy. I don't know. However, somewhere along the line you were like, if we just take that concept and we put it in the pub, it becomes this night out, this event. And when did the penny drop around that for you?
Well, the first thing I'll say is that I believe there's probably a choir for everyone. Like, no matter what genre of music you like, there will be a group of women in a suburb somewhere doing that. And I think they're out there if you look. And there are so many incredible choirs in Australia and the whole world. And I wish everyone would join one, because there is a difference between chipping away at music over time. Like, there's a different kind of satisfaction of the long game with music. And I think that's really important. But as you say, and as we touched on earlier, there is like a connotation with music making, the nerdy kids, which I don't actually subscribe to, but they're like, yeah, there is this like kind of cultural idea of the community music maker. Like, there's probably, you imagine like a bow tie in the choir, and like music that, from old dead white dudes 250 years ago. Like, there's a real idea that we have of choir, but fundamentally choir is just people singing. Like, we have construed and like obscured the meaning of choir. Choir is just singing together, but we have made it this cultural phenomenon. Certainly in Australia, in the West, everywhere that I've been, it's sort of like choir means auditions and weekly stress and like boring rehearsals and whatever. It's not true, but it's become that in our minds. And so I think my mission, and I didn't have it specifically in my mind, but it's become clear to me that this is how I would put it into words, is that one of my missions with pub choir is to let people know, to separate out the fat, to get back to this like kind of lean idea of choir, which is just people singing together. It doesn't need to be more complicated than that. And that's what pub choir is. I hope that opens people's minds to the idea that all of these other choirs with the bow ties are kind of aiming for the same thing too. And I hope, even grander hope, no one get offended, don't cancel me. I hope that some of the, I think there is a real problem attracting people to the community choir because of those cultural things. So I would encourage anyone who is either running a group like that or looking to create a singing group, because we need so much more singing together in the world, full advocate. I wonder if you could strip away anything that doesn't actually help people sing better. Like, what I've taken lots of community choirs outside of pub choir, and I've never thought to myself, we would sound better if everyone was wearing a sash. Like, I mean, it might make us feel united, and that's a good reason to do it, right? Like, if everyone,
no jazz hands are required.
I mean, if everyone likes choreography, that's what you call choral moves.
Oh my God.
Like, then do it, because it will make people feel happy. But does it necessarily make every group sing better and feel more relaxed? No. So let's look for what meets the needs of the people in the group. Or what can you bring that would feel authentic? And it's not always a cummerbund.
So what were the first few pub choirs like? Take me inside, the first 3 or 4 where there's just a couple of hundred people. It hasn't taken off yet. How hard was it to engage people, to teach them to sing in 3-part harmony? For people who've never been to pub choir, now it is phenomenal what you do. To be on stage with the amount of energy that you have, to work that crowd into 3 groups, to have the screen the way you've made it so easy for people to follow the lyrics, and there's no musical notation required, but you've made the words go up or down when the melody goes up or down, all the funny GIFs. You're actually running the PowerPoint, singing the songs, directing the people, getting it done in like 90 minutes. It's truly phenomenal.
Oh, thank you.
What you can do. But I'm sure that that's evolved over time. What were those first few like? And, what mistakes did you make? What went wrong? How did you adapt over time?
I don't even have enough time in the universe to describe all of the little flusters and mistakes that happen at every single show, because it unfolds in real time. It's a fully improvised show. I think underneath it all, the first show and the last show that I've just done are kind of the same. From the very first night, I was dividing it into high, middle, low and teaching a 3-part harmony, one song in 90 minutes. It's the method of delivery which has become more streamlined. Like at the first show, I handed out sheets of paper with no visual directions and I made everyone remember. I was like, you'll just have to remember what I'm about to teach you. But underneath it all, I was trying to achieve the exact same goal, which is just reworking one song in a more textured way with drunk people. So, but like at the last show, the exact same goal happened. And the crazy thing is, every single show that's happened over the last 8 and whatever years, nearly 9 years of pub choir, is that I start from zero with every audience. So it's this same amount of work that needs to be done. No matter how many times I've done the show, it's still like...
You're starting at the beginning.
Yeah, you have to start from which is so annoying.
It's really
so
annoying.
But this is why I'm saying join a regular choir as well, because then you get to like start from the second verse next rehearsal. But for me, I've got to start from the beginning of every song. The things that have evolved are like I've got the PowerPoint. So I've figured out over time how to make it visually accessible as well. I realized that I needed to have a lower voice sometimes to help like men sing along. So I've programmed this microphone to give me this fake male voice. But at the beginning, I just had my own female voice and it was very confusing for men at the show. And they're trying to sing what I'm singing. And I'm like, no, I have a female voice.
You need to go an octave down.
Yeah, and they were trying to match me and I'm like, you're all idiots. And then, so I mean, I think I would describe the difference between any show is incremental improvement. I sincerely hope that if you came to my second last show and my last one that I've just done, you would say that the next one was slightly better. Like I'm always trying to find something to make it easier for the audience. The goal is to make people feel welcome. I hope if someone came to the first show and then they saw my last one, they'd be like, well, I'm less stressed.
So it's just such a fun night out. And so I imagine this 50 people that were at the first one then turns into hundreds and then it turns into thousands. How did you also then evolve into running a business? Because as you mentioned, you've been a music teacher / air traffic controller almost. You're very good at, conducting, getting up on stage, etc. It's a whole different thing to then run it as a business.
Oh, preach. Oh, my God. How have I done it? With difficulty. I hate running a business.
Do you really?
Oh, well, look, it's not. Yeah, I mean, yes, I do. Look, it's hard all the time. I just think nothing that I'm doing off stage really ever feels easy. But I also, if I take a step back, that's probably fair. Like I've got a really incredible job that I have carved out for myself and I have a very interesting life and I'm getting to do all sorts of things and I'm like, I don't know anyone else with a job so streamlined to their interest. I mean, it's an insane privilege what I'm doing. So it kind of feels fair that it involves hard work, but it is annoying and tiring running a business. But I don't want to discourage anyone. I do think it's realistic though. Like I genuinely did not start out at the first show. People are like, did you ever imagine? And I'm like, well, of course not, because no one had ever done this before. Like, no one has ever made a business in this way. No one has ever had a live show called Pub Choir and built this thing. So every single thing that's ever happened for Pub Choir has never happened before, and I'm the only person who's done it. So it's really frightening at all times. There's no one I can copy. I can't call anyone for advice about what happens next. No one knows. So running the business is like this unfolding nightmare. But I should say it's an adventure. I'm on a quest, I would say. But I've had to learn every single thing it feels like the hard way.
And when something goes a bit pear-shaped, it really is on your shoulders. So I'm interested in the story that you tell in your book, Average at Best, which is a fantastic read, where there's somebody in a wheelchair who comes along to the show. You know, there's one thing for a mistake where you're in your bedroom and, you know, you've broken your website or something, right? And you go, or you've mucked up your tax or whatever, and you just go, okay, I'm just going to have to fix this. It is a whole nother thing when you're sort of customer facing and right before you're about to walk on stage, you realise something's gone awry.
I think this is really the worst show experience that I've had, and it's because I was selfish in the moment that someone did come to the show in a wheelchair and I didn't have an accessible venue. I didn't even think to check. It wasn't something that was on my radar. You don't know all the things you don't know. So I found out in real time that I hadn't checked for an accessible venue and somebody couldn't get up the stairs. And so I tried to be a hero in that moment. The show is minutes away from starting and it's a pretty rough looking room, actually. Not every show is a room of angel nerds. Sometimes it's really rough and ready. And so I was already stressed, and then this like lightning bolt of catastrophe happens. My show is about accessibility and making sure everyone feels welcome, and someone literally cannot get in the room. In my head, I think, I'll run around and solve this. I'll find the manager. There'll be a lift out the back. It's the law. But it turns out that not every building has to follow this code. Oh, how boring and complicated. The fact is there is no way for this person to get in. And I cannot solve this. And I have ruined their night, and they've come such a long way. They've travelled for hours to get there, spent money on accommodation. And in my mind, this is weighing quite heavily. And I think this story as well, for me, is an example of like a snowball of bad decisions. So I could have probably left it there and sat with knowing that I've disappointed someone and apologised from the heart and tried to move on. But then it escalates for me and I keep trying to solve this problem, and the show is going off the rails. People are booing. I'm very distracted. People are leaving. It's all falling apart. But at the end of the show, I decide to invite the audience downstairs to sing for the person who can't get into the show. I'm like, I'll solve everything. I'll bring the show to them. But I didn't ask for permission to do that. And this person did not want me to do that. And they, in fact, tried to leave the show and go home. And the chapter sort of culminates with me chasing down the road in the middle of the night a person in a wheelchair crying, trying to get away from me. Like, I have made this about me. This is an insane moment of escalating sort of narcissism where I'm like, I will solve everyone's problems and I will be a hero. But of course you cannot do that. It's so tempting to try, but what a ridiculous pursuit that is guaranteed to end in disappointment, if not for you, but certainly for others. So this was such a powerful moment in my work with pub choir, realising that, one, I will disappoint people and you have to let it go. It's none of your business if someone else is disappointed in your work, as long as you know that you've done your work with integrity. It's kind of none of your business. Two, the shows need to be accessible. What a huge thing to learn. I'm very sorry that this happened to this person and their family. I don't know who they are. I'm not trying to reach out and ask for forgiveness. I put the story in the book to just be an example that, like, we just have to learn and try and be better.
I'm Kelly Reardon and this is Curveball. My guest today, Astrid Jorgensen, founder of Pub Choir.
Caring for someone who's been diagnosed with dementia can be overwhelming.
It took me a while to go from being an organiser to actually saying I identify as a carer.
Once we all start talking about it openly, it becomes a lot easier for families and people living with dementia.
But don't worry, we've got your back.
Hold the Moment is the podcast that helps you navigate life caring for someone with dementia.
Search for Hold the Moment wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Kelly Reardon and Astrid Jorgensen is the founder of Pub Choir, my guest on Curveball today. So right as your business is starting to gain momentum, you were invited to the South by Southwest Festival in the US. So for anyone who hasn't heard of this, it is the kind of arts business festival in the world in Austin. This is huge. Like, this can be a game changer for so many people. It's gaming, it's tech, it's music, it's arts. You jump on a plane to the other side of the world Pub Choir is about to go global. You must have been absolutely pumped to get asked to go to South by Southwest.
I was definitely pumped. I was also really frightened because I'm like, this is the coolest festival in the world, really. It's really high caliber sort of talent that gets invited. And I was like, I don't know if they know that mine's just a choir show. I was really stressed about it, but super excited. It did feel like kind of maybe we were coming to a peak of something. You know, I think it was 3 years into pub choir. So I'd been chipping away at it. It had been growing a lot in Australia, but this was like the first big international break.
So you trot on off there. I think you're in San Francisco. You're not quite there yet. And then, of course, it's 2020. COVID happens, which I imagine is completely devastating because it wipes out the festival. This would have seemed like your once-in-a-lifetime chance. Like you're so close. There's no way back. This has really stuffed things up for us. Is that how it felt at the time?
It was strange. I'm sure everybody remembers, you know, it wasn't that long ago, but it took a while. There was like a bit of whiplash with people realizing the seriousness and the scale of the COVID pandemic. I do remember, especially in Australia, there was this kind of early opinion of like, well, that seems like a bad cold, you know, and it was kind of fun to have a lockdown. Like everyone's like, this COVID thing is going to be a long week. But of course it turned out to be a years long effect on the world. We were in America, which was so much more serious than what was going on in Australia. So I could see that this was no cold. I could see that this was it was like the apocalypse. I had been to San Francisco before and we were walking down the main street and there was not a person to be seen. Like this is in the middle of a business day. Every single shop was boarded up. Like it was so much worse than what was being described in Australia as like, you know, let's wash our hands. Like in America, overnight they shut down the entire nation and it became illegal to sing. It became illegal to gather together in rooms and to spread aerosols and have more than 2 people or whatever it was. And so we thought, well, we've got to get back to Australia. Like this is the worst place for us to be. We lay on an airport floor in LA. We drove 6 hours back to LA from San Francisco because we heard that we could get on a wait list to get home on a flight. And we slept on the floor for like 24 hours, hoping to get some seats on a flight home, which we were very lucky that we did. And we actually came home and that's the day after the borders closed to Australia. Like we just snuck in. And on the flight home, which took about 24 hours, every single thing that I had planned for the year was cancelled, like by the venues, by everyone. So 20,000 tickets disappeared and an entire year's work. We returned to genuinely nothing.
There's 2 things that are going on at the same time. Like you think you're going to South by Southwest, biggest music arts thing in the world, which absolutely can be a make or break moment. That's gone. But then on top of that, like pub choir's gone.
Yes.
The entire model of what you do, turn up at a venue, hundreds of people all stand right close to each other and breathe and spit on each other, it's gone. So there's 2 devastating things. How could you come back from this?
Yes, it was a bad time to have a live music business. I almost hesitate to say it because I don't want it to sound like I thought that COVID was trivial or that it was an easy thing for musicians. The thing that I'm about to say is so unusual because it is not the story of any other live music artist that I know. And I'm very aware of that. But what happened during COVID was pub choir's business grew. The business that I had created where it required you to sing next to a stranger in a physical space got more followers over the 2 years of 2020 than I could have ever dreamed, and more media attention and more desire for people to come to the show than I think would have happened if we went to South by Southwest. Like in a strange way, it ended up better. A little memory popped into my head of something I'd seen about 10 years before. A man in America called Eric Whitacre, he's a very famous choral composer and conductor, had a TED Talk or something like that once, and he created a virtual choir. I remember seeing it. It went pretty viral at the time. This must have been about 2010. And what he'd done is he'd asked good singers, so they were very musically proficient people, on YouTube to submit videos of themselves singing different harmonies from one of his very beautiful and textured and complicated songs that he had composed. And then they'd got this sort of like, look like a Hollywood movie studio to make like a 3D wall of this virtual choir. It was incredible graphics. It was very moving. It was like the most incredible, outlandish thing I'd ever seen in 2010. And it had always stuck with me. And it popped into my head on this flight home from LA, where I thought, well, there is someone who has had people singing together virtually, but that looks like it cost $1 million.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That is high production value.
Yeah, and it took years. Like they put this project together, I think 18 months or something like that, and it just looked so expensive. But I thought, well, it can be done, right? We looked at the video at the airport, and then we talked about it on the flight home. And by the time we landed, we had decided how we would try. This hadn't been done on a sort of like DIY daggy scale before, but we wanted to give it a try. I was like, it's certainly possible to get people singing virtually, making it sound satisfying. Is there a way we could do it cheaply, effectively, freely for people? And that's how Couch Choir came about.
And Couch Choir, I mean, it was so joyous because people are like, some people were, what can I do with this time where I'm stuck and all of those things? But also it was a moment of joy if you just watched it. At a time where nothing was feeling particularly joyful. So I didn't participate in contributing a video, but I certainly... what did I say yes to this interview? But I certainly sat with my kids on the couch and watched them all and went, oh my God, isn't this incredible? And you did feel that sense of community, even if you weren't in the choir. However, as again, a media professional, I was looking at it going, how on earth has somebody, I mean, kudos to your video editor, who has stitched together how many hundreds of entries did you get for the first Couch Choir?
The first one had 1,000 people, yeah.
And you stitched all 1,000 of them in?
Yeah, we sat around, like we didn't sleep for like 3 days. There's 3 of us that worked on this project. So it was myself, my manager, John, and my video editor, Paris. I did the audio, so I would look visually at the audio and I would line up all of the claps, and then Paris would line up the visuals of all the claps, and that was the best we could do to sync up these videos. And one by one, we would drag them into these files. She did the visuals, I did the audio, and we would, like John was there downloading 1,000 videos. Like we ruined the internet in Brisbane that week. Sorry, everyone. It was crazy. Like it was a very manual process, and it was the entire time. We got faster at it, but a few people saw this around the world, like the BBC put it on their news bulletins, and it did go viral, this idea of 1,000 people singing in isolation together. Like it's still possible to be together alone kind of thing. And people were writing, how do we do this? What app are you using? I'm like, are you kidding? The app is our minds. We're very tired.
From a business perspective though, you can't really make a buck on that. Like you can, you've got a clip of the ticket when someone comes in the door for pub choir, they've paid their $50 or $100 or whatever it is.
$30.
$30, sorry. They're very affordable.
It's very
$30.
affordable.
That covers the venue hire and your time and your musician's time and a lighting guy and all the things that you need, right? A ticketing back end, John to be your manager. How does Couch Choir survive from a business perspective?
Well, the first Couch Choir iteration, we just did it like the entire time it was for free. No one ever had to pay a cent to be part of it. The first one had 1,000 people participate, and like I said, it sort of went gangbusters online around the world. The second time, 5,000 people sent in a video, and some people sent in a donation. They asked how they could send us money. I didn't ask for that.
No.
But people said, like, I've spent 3 days learning this and it has brought me joy for 3 solid days. Can I send you $50?
Yeah.
We're like, yes.
Amazing.
Absolutely. So that's the first thing that happened. And then the second thing that happened was that the corporate world started sending emails. I had never reached out. I did not have a corporate, plan.
Bone in your body.
No, I really didn't. But businesses who had just had all of these events budgets that had been closed down overnight and couldn't have a Christmas party or couldn't celebrate the boss's birthday or whatever, had no way of connecting their employees across the country or whatever. And so many businesses wrote to Pub Choir, now Couch Choir, and said, can we pay you $10,000 to spend a week teaching our employees a song and then stitch the video together, which honestly, that's like 50 cents an hour. So,
yes. Still not massively lucrative.
Yeah, but
kept you afloat.
It really did. And when that all adds up, you can pay people their wage again. Like I was paying my videographer and my manager their regular wage during a time when it was illegal to do our regular job, which was incredible to me. And then we kept it going. Obviously, the interest died down. Like everyone's sick of online stuff now. I wouldn't go back to it now. But that was very lucky that it sort of dovetailed with things opening up a little bit again. And so it really brought us through.
And once you did reopen, of course, people were sort of reluctant still. It wasn't the same as pre-COVID. Like people were still a bit nervous. They weren't sure about being in a room with lots of people. Some people still wanted to wear masks, which I imagine really inhibits your singing. So did it come back the way things were pre-COVID?
Yeah, so I mean it didn't. The interest around the world was at an all-time high for my work. But the physical presence had really dropped off. Pre-COVID, people were selling out the shows genuinely in under 2 minutes every time. Like it was it was out of control, really. And then after COVID, you know, the first show at half capacity took 2 weeks to get close, you know, like, and I think even we had 2 shows for sale. The second one, there were tickets on the door that night. Like it just got there at the very end. It was a really different amount of enthusiasm people had. I fully understand why. It's not a criticism, just an observation. People didn't feel comfortable standing together, sweating on each other. I understand. And they had 2 years of not doing that. Like it's quite, yeah.
It's like we lost our muscle to be with each other as well.
Yeah.
There definitely was a time like, how does this work again, this whole going out thing?
Yes, yeah, people were being weird too. Yeah, like everyone was a little bit goblin. Yeah, they'd forgotten how to interact with each other. And so, of course, it didn't feel the same. And it was about trying to encourage people to step past that and to remind themselves that the singing is the purpose. It's not about, I don't know, like doing it for the video and like the cool vibes. It's about contributing to something. And it was very difficult to get people back in that mindset of like, no, singing is good for you and it's good to share. And so honestly, Kate Bush changed that for me.
So what happened? You
My close friend Kate Bush.
Oh my God, imagine knowing Kate Bush. Seriously. So you pick a Kate Bush song. How do you get the rights? I'm really interested in that. Is that a whole palaver?
Yeah, it's sort of a boring story, but it's probably the most stressful part of pub choir. You have to seek the publishing permission. You sort of rent the song for an evening. It's quite expensive depending on the song. And you must have all of the songwriters agree on the amount. It's sort of like the open oceans. Like it's lawless.
Yeah, so sometimes you might not be able to afford a song.
Exactly. Or they might say no.
Or they might say no.
Sometimes a 1% songwriter will say no, you know, like the person who has got a grudge against the 99% songwriter. It's very murky how to get a song. But yes, you ask permission and hopefully you get it.
And for people to understand as well, musicians have their recording rights, so that's the rights to the actual recorded material, and then they have their publishing rights. You go to the publisher, you say, we want Running Up a Hill.
Yes.
Kate herself probably doesn't know this. She's got people who do all this, right? Like her publisher does all of this. So she doesn't necessarily know that over in Australia there's a crazy lady who's going to jump on stage and teach people the song.
Well, funny you say that because she is probably the only artist that we've ever come across who does know, because she famously says no. And that is fully within her rights and it makes me love her more. But when I asked for the permission, the publisher did come straight back and they said, I doubt it, but I will ask. She usually says no. She doesn't license out her music very often. The song was in the zeitgeist because it had been licensed to be used in a show called Stranger Things. And it was in the news because it was #1 in the charts because of the TV show, but it had come out 37 years ago. So it was like this really nice bit of good news. A 37-year-old song is #1 in the world. So I thought to myself, well, she licensed it once, so we should ask. And we got closer and closer to the show and she said yes. This already to me, I was like, Kate Bush knows who we are. Like, I was like, we are chosen.
And what's your pitch, Astrid? Like, how are you turning that into a yes?
It gets easier as it goes on, but we just send videos. We send video like this. We treat songs respectfully. We are value adding to something that is already very valuable, and we are bringing joy to people. Like, you try and appeal to the human aspect of these absolute goblins. I'm talking about publishers, not Kate Bush. So we got this yes, and it felt so special, and I was like, well, I must treat it carefully then. I cannot drop the ball on this. Like, sometimes I fumble my arrangements. I think I do something crazy or wacky, and I'm like, oh, I regret that. I put so much love and care into this. I wrote for a string quartet as well. I got like the Camerata string quartet to come along, these like premier musicians from Queensland, and it was just like a really bloody classy arrangement. It's quite a complicated song. It was a stressful show, but we got there. The video is really lovely, and the strings add this like kind of drama. People were fully into it, and when we put the video out of what we had done at the show, Kate Bush saw it and sent me an email. Kate Bush sent me an email.
Crazy.
I know. I'm sure she regrets it because I talked about it so publicly.
What did you do when you got that email? Tell me exactly what you did. Like, you jumping 6 feet in the air.
Is this swearing on your podcast? Well, I'm sure you can imagine. I mean, at first I was like, no, she didn't. She did not. But look, I shared it online and it just went gangbusters. Like, the idea that Kate Bush, this person who is so private in her own, like she's allowed to be, came out of this sort of wilderness and said, I love this. This made me happy. Congratulations and thank you. I think it really just caught the attention of the whole world, it felt like. And from that moment, because of Kate Bush sending me an email, the shows have been sold out ever since. Like, it reinvigorated people's enthusiasm for singing. They're like, well, if it's good enough for Kate Bush, it's good enough for me. And they came back to the show.
That is just so incredible. What then made you decide to audition for America's Got Talent?
Yeah, that was last year. I mean...
Especially because, sorry to interrupt you, but the videos had something like 250 million views. Like, it is absolutely insane. But you hate competitive music.
Yeah, great pickup. I mean, if I can't talk heaps about like the mechanisms of being a part of that show, but I'm sure I can say, just because I had to sign a bunch of stuff, but I'm sure I can say that I was approached. I mean, we don't even have the show in Australia. We don't live in America, so we don't watch America's Got Talent. So I certainly wasn't reaching out being like, please, please, please. But I think some of our videos might have caught the attention of some of, like, they've got talent scouts. It's like it's the biggest show in America. So they're always looking for interesting things. And I had been approached a few years in a row, and I had responded, or made John respond, but with the idea of like, I think you've fully misread what my work is, because my show is like kind of the antithesis of what you are proposing. I'm not about competitive art, and my show is about the people and not the performer. But they asked again and again, and they're like, what would it take? You know, like, what, tell us more how we can make it right for you. And I think this is like maybe the third or something year in a row. And I wondered to myself if I could sort of change the way that the auditions had been done. It's always about lauding the person on stage. And I was like, well, it would be cool. It would be very interesting to go there and to kind of flip that around. And it's almost like reiterating the name of the show with a different emphasis. America's Got Talent. Like, actually, because that's what I believe. It's people are the main character of art. They're certainly the main character of my show. So I was like, well, what if I went and did that? What if I went and said my belief? So it's what I went and did. And I was really nervous because I thought, have I just ruined my entire life's work by going on this reality TV show? Luckily for me, that's how it worked out. I think it really sparked this excitement and understanding and surprise across America and around the world. As you say, like, that's such a large number of views. It was the most viewed thing by like 200 million.
It's crazy. So crazy. My producer put that in the notes. I was like, sorry, it can't be 200 million. Can you go and fact check that?
Yeah, no, they put it out themselves. I didn't even believe it. But yeah, America's Got Talent put that on their page saying this was our most viewed clip by a margin of, 100 million or 200. But that's what, I don't even understand what that number means. Like, it's unfathomable really to me, and it was me. But I think it was just an opportunity in my mind to say what I believe, and I'm really grateful that it was received that way.
There is an sort of like this awkward moment, and I know it's highly edited and they pull out all the dramatic bits and whatever. There's sort of this moment where I'm sure even you, knowing that it's somewhat concocted for television drama, where no one's really sure if this concept of like, I'm not really the talent, the people in the audience are the talent. Like, there's a moment in the room and on the footage where no one's really quite sure if that's really a thing. Did you feel that awkwardness on stage?
Yes. I mean, I cannot overstate how every show America's Got Talent, the worst show of my life, the first show, the last show I just did, they're all starting from zero. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be a room of professional singers. It could be in Hollywood where everyone in the audience wants to be on screen and is excited to be there, like at that audition. Every single time I have to start from zero and convince the audience what would feel good and what I have imagined for them. And so for sure, it can be awkward. And it was.
Does that get tiring? Because, mastery.
Yes.
Mastery is such, you do a thing, you get a little bit better, you get a little bit better, and, you're into that incremental growth. So in some way you are getting better, but I fully appreciate your point. It's like, I'm always starting at the beginning because everyone in the room is new to it, even if you're not. How do you rally on those days where, you've just had a fight with Evan, your husband, or like something's gone on and you just don't have the energy that day? Maybe you're feeling a bit sick, whatever, you got your period, all the things that can happen in life, but you have to go on stage and really carry the energy of the room, and kind of there's a bit of convincing that you need to do with pub choir. What do you do on those days?
Begin. I mean, like, I think on one level, like, it's my job. Who feels good every day? Like, go to work. I don't know. You're not just allowed to stay at home and say, I don't feel like it. 2,000 people have a ticket. That's crazy behaviour to not show up. But the other thing is, I think anyone would be hard-pressed not to feel some kind of shift in themselves when you walk out on stage and 2,000 people scream woo, not necessarily because you've walked on stage, but just because they're so excited to be there and to try. Like, 2,000 people feeling optimistic together, it moves you a little bit. And the craziness sort of takes over. Like, I feel very nervous before every show because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how people feel. I've never tried the song before because I always change it for the shows. So it's all unknown. But then when you walk on and you realize people want it to be good, it changes you. And people are like, woo, you're like, and it's not woo Astrid, but woo, we hope this is good. And then I think, me too. And then we snowball from there and try and figure it out. It's like it's reciprocity. I think if I walked out and everyone threw a can of beer or something, I'd probably walk off and wouldn't do the show. But I would challenge anyone to feel, neutral towards that amount of optimism coming towards you as one wave in one moment, and then suddenly I'm ready for the show.
The music industry, like so many others, has also been grappling with this, equality, the Me Too movement, all of those things. And you've built this pub choir juggernaut. Yes, you've got a few people who are, along for the ride as well. But it was your idea, you're running it, you're the one on stage, you're the one fixing all the problems when things go wrong. And yet, tell me how you've been treated in the industry as you've built this phenomenon.
I suppose, look, it would be untrue to say that everyone treats me with respect. But I'm not trying to start a war. Like, I think that time has passed for me. Maybe I will in the future. But if anyone who's been in the music industry, you could say with your whole heart that it's a male-dominated industry. I have only encountered 2 venues in the entire world that were women managed and run.
Wow.
So there's been women working at lots of venues that I've played at, but where it was the actual women running the show backstage, like it's so rare that you're working with a cast of women. I'm not saying that that's what I require to do my job, but it's a pretty, it's skewed odds, right? More than not, you're going to walk in and be met with a group of men who doubt you. It's sort of like it's sort of a bit of a deficit mindset, I find, when you walk in there, like, prove to me that you're not an idiot, rather than you've sold 5,000 tickets on a Monday night. Perhaps there is value to what you're doing. How can I help? Which you would hope. You would hope that would be the attitude, but it's not always. Of course, there are lovely men working in the music industry, and I've had the privilege of meeting many of them, but it's not a trend, unfortunately. And so early days with pub choir, I would just find myself at war constantly. Like, people backstage are literally laughing at me, touching my gear, moving things, teasing the show, making jokes, and then I'm fighting with them in this crazy mindset, and then having to walk onto stage and make jokes for 90 minutes, improvised, while backstage everyone's laughing. After the show, they're always very nice. They're like, holy crap, that was incredible. We'd love you to come back. And I'm like, I bet you would. And then I don't. But There is like, it's the energy drain that I realized is affecting my performance for the audience. The audience is the main character, not the sound guy. So I realized either I have to let it go or I have to change my behavior or find somebody else to help, because me being at war pre-show does not make the show any better.
Now, the book that you've written is called Average at Best, and it's an interesting title because, as we've heard from this story across the last hour or so, you know, all of this is the complete opposite to average. So what made you sort of hero this idea of, I'm a pretty average girl doing pretty average things, and that's a life, that's a great life?
I suppose, no offense, but isn't everyone average if you average it out? Like, the things that people see me do on stage at pub choir is 90 minutes of the month. Like, how many other things am I doing that you don't see? It's sort of like, when it comes down to it, we're all kind of the same. However, many people have put in so much effort, and I really feel I have to put myself into that category as well, of trying to become good at something. It is really difficult to become great at something, and it's certainly not a right. Like, I think lots of us have become caught up in the idea of best as a goal. Best is very, very rare, and it would take a lot to get there, even briefly, but it does not mean that you are the best to begin with. Like, Usain Bolt did not run 9 seconds at whatever he did the first time he sprinted 100 meters. Even someone who has the inclination to be great at something has to work at it a lot. And so I think that's kind of the secondary meaning that I want to give out to the world, is that best is perhaps a destination, but there are so many not best things that comprise the ingredients to get there, even to touch best briefly, like a hot stove, and then back off again. No one can start at best. You can only try your best to get better. I think that's a more realistic goal. And when you step back, even if you're the best at something, I think I'm the best at pub choir, and that has something to do with the fact I'm the only one doing it. So it's an easy claim to make. But I'm very good at taking a choir of unsure people and making them sing together. Like, I know that I can do that because I've done it hundreds of times on large scales. There are so many ingredients that allow me to be the best at that. And when I sat back to write this book, I realized that all of those underwhelming things counted just as much. You can never start at best. So I think it's important to kind of be realistic about it. It's a nice thing to aim for, to be the best at something, but it will require you to do so many non-best things, and they are just as important. And I think that's kind of a cool realization to have, being like, well, that counted too. Like, I didn't get there today, but it's an ingredient.
Well, thank you so much for removing the cummerbunds from choirs and the jazz hands.
They can look cool sometimes, I'm sorry.
I love your averageness and your bestness at the same time. If you haven't been to pub choir, I just highly recommend it. Grab a friend or a bunch of friends, go along. It doesn't matter if you know how to sing. In fact, the biggest bit of joy every time I've gone is actually not from the singing. It's looking around at people singing. I remember just standing, I've been a few times, but one of the most recent times was at the Tivoli in Brisbane. And I just for a moment just did this spin around to look up at everybody on both levels. And just seeing the joy on people's faces and the fact that everyone was having a good time, like that alone is worth your $30. So get along.
Sounds really great. I'd love to go.
Congratulations on the book as well, and thank you for joining me on Curveball.
Thank you for having me.
Astrid Jorgensen, the founder of Pub Choir, where anyone with a voice can belt it out with strangers, beer in hand. And her book is called Average at Best. Curveball's produced by Dead Set Studios. Just do me a quick favour right now. Do leave a review for Curveball in whichever podcast app that you're using. It really helps other people find the show. And go back to the back catalogue. If you like Astrid, there are so many artists, people like Trent Dalton who've been on the show. Definitely explore those other episodes of Curveball. This episode was produced by Unity Jackson Muir, and you can find out more about the show at curveballshow.com. We acknowledge the traditional owners of country in which this podcast was made, the Yagara and Turrbal people, and recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the land's first storytellers.